We're going to go ahead and bring this meeting to order.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Do we do that all? I don't remember that before. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're excited that you all are here today and excited to see some more ECHO projects move forward. Roll call for us, please.
Pat Northey,
I'm here.
Jay Pendergast,
Here.
Jeffrey Alt,
Here.
Sarah Lee Morrissey, here, Pat Patterson,
Here.
David Romeo,
Here.
Reggie Santilli, here, Stacy Simmons, Jack Surratt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We're all present today. That's wonderful. Okay, we're moved to public participation. Do we have anybody for public participation? No? Well, that's kind of interesting. Approval of the minutes for May 26th. Has everybody read the minutes? Are there any corrections to them?
I have one
I wanted to
correction.
make a comment.
Sure.
I'm going to start getting known as this person who always has a
You're going to be
comment.
Joey Alexander, because
I thought highly of her.
yeah,
so-
well, I did too. And when she was up here, the council didn't even read the minutes until Joey said it was okay. I mean, we looked at Joey and said, "Joey, did you read the minutes?" And she'd say, "Yeah." Are they okay? We were all okay.
Okay, so I made a comment when we were at Magnolia Park in South Daytona, expressing concern about the replacement of the fence, and in particular,
Yeah.
providing the slats or the shading to obscure the visibility, and I would like that reflected.
You would like that added to the minutes? Can we do that, Jill? Add that to the minutes? And did you have some, okay.
I did. I just had one correction, please, on the last page. It's Daughters of the American Revolution.
Get that, Jill? Okay,
Thank you.
those are the only corrections. With that, the minutes will be corrected and filed. Okay, we'll go to official opening as grant review panel, grant review and scoring procedures. And Kendra, I guess you're going to take that for us?
Sorry, that wasn't on. So I just want to give a brief overview of how the procedures for how today is going to go. So we're going to review each application individually, and that gives everyone an opportunity to discuss each one, ask questions of the applicants. They're all here. And then we will score them individually. Jill will do a roll call vote out loud, ask everybody their vote. You will say it. She'll have a spreadsheet up and enter them as you give them to her. The highest and lowest score is dropped and then averaged. At the end of the meeting, everything scoring 80 or above would be what you would vote to recommend to the county council. So are there any questions on the procedures or how we're going to do anything today? No. Okay.
Good with that? Okay. So we will first move to the exceptional grant status vote, Alabama Greenway Extension, City of Deland.
Good morning, Board. I'm Teresa Brooks, Grants Manager for the City of Deland. I have with me today the Acting City Manager, Mike Grebos, our Parks and Rec Director, Rick Hall, Director of Engineering, Ray Barami, and our Contract Engineer, Matt Cushman. The Mayor of Deland, the Honorable Bob Apgar, is on his way to support this project. So it is my privilege once again to be before you. This morning, I am asking for a vote for the exceptional status of the Alabama Greenway extension. I want to just make a few points, reminder points that we went over during the eligibility tour. The first was that the city has partnered with the county and continues to commit funds to the county's Master Trail program. The Alabama Greenway extension will fill that gap that takes the Greenway out to Highway 92 and will connect with the FDOT trail out there. Since FDOT is constructing that intersection, they are at their expense going to tie in to this segment of the trail, and no FDOT permit will be required. The Volusia County reviewed the plans for this section of trail back in 2016 or 2017, and the city engineers have addressed any questions and concerns that they had then, so we don't anticipate a delay in getting the right-of-way use permit from the county. No more than 60 days is our guess. This proposed section of the Alabama Greenway is entirely along Garfield Avenue, which is a 100% county road. A third of the trail is in the unincorporated area, and half of the residents along this trail are county residents, not city residents. The city is committing over $1 million of general funds to put towards this project. Now, to further our commitment in the trails, the city has submitted an application to the TPO for a feasibility study for the trail out to the Sunrail station, which I'll add is also in the unincorporated area of Deland. So from the eligibility tour meeting, there were a few questions and concerns that had come up, and we have worked very hard over the last couple of weeks to bring those answers to you this morning. So the first question was, what was the plan to extend the tour west, the Greenway west out to Grand Avenue, and does FDOT have a plan for that? So we contacted FDOT, and their response was clearly, while they don't have anything planned on International west of Woodland, there is a potential to connect it to the Spring to Spring on Grand via West Plymouth Avenue, utilizing the in-house projects development on Woodland Boulevard. Pat, thank you for referring me to Maggie Ardito, a wealth of knowledge and very, very helpful. So I did contact her, had some very good conversations, and our contract engineer has provided her with the plans for her to review and make recommendations for any safety features at the crossings, as Pat had requested. And in this process, I discovered that the city was not part of the alliance. So yesterday, we did put in a request to join the River to Sea, the St. Johns River to Sea Loop Alliance.
Thank you.
The next one was the user count. So city staff met with the public work directors from different cities within Seminole and Volusia County. The city of Sanford, Altamont Springs, and Winter Springs have not tracked pedestrian or bikers on their existing trails. Volusia County has one tracker in use. I contact the city of Atlanta Beltline to see what they were currently doing, and the lady was extremely helpful, and she sent me the information on the echo counter system that they currently use and gave me recommendations on where to place them throughout our trail system. So the Volusia County Traffic Engineering Department came forward and conducted a count on our existing Alabama Greenway from the intersection of Alabama Avenue and Indiana Avenue from this past Friday morning at 6 a.m. until Sunday at 6 p.m. And the total count was 151 users, 88 pedestrians, and 63 bicycles. That was not, I might add that was not in a high use time period, but it was the best that we could do in such a short time. I spoke with Tim Bailey, Parks and Rec Director from Volusia County, and he is 100% supportive of partnering with at least the city of Deland and reaching out to the other cities to find funding to purchase trackers for the existing trails and commit to using those going forward. With that being said, I don't have anything additional to add. Do you have any questions?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for taking our concerns and questions very seriously. This is an exceptional request, and I appreciate your attention to the detail. Is that my phone? It might have been my phone was right over here. If you taking those. No. Okay, we need somebody to figure that one out. Yeah, you want to, Jay, you want to just say
Hello.
hello, good morning, something?
Hello, good morning. Can I make that funny noise?
Making that funny
I
noise.
guess
And I'll
not.
say good morning and echo what Ms. Northey was beginning to say, which was, I appreciate your attention to detail and taking seriously all the questions and/or comments that were made during our tour. And you do really good work. The presentation's very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Other comments? I think maybe it's gone now? Okay.
I'd like to make one
Yeah.
comment if I could.
Jack?
Because we talked about the exceptional position of using, of it being so important to the entire county, not just to the area. And I know you don't have any data to support people coming from elsewhere or how that fits, but I appreciate really the answer to the question, which is that the trail system in total is countywide, and it involves all this. This is, to some extent, becoming part of the trail system in total, even though it may not all connect at this time.
Correct.
In time, it will be part of it. So I see it as an exceptional position, as being important to the entire county versus just important to the city of Deland.
Thank you.
I was encouraged that when you said that the TPO is going to take a look at how they can get, whether it be at one end or the middle of the trail, that it goes out to the main line. So that's really important to be in the exceptional status for me, that's in, not the works, but that it is being reviewed by the TPO, I think you
Correct.
said.
And according to my conversation with Maggie, that project ranked number 2
Yeah,
at the TPO,
Yeah. so, okay.
the feasibility study.
Mr. Patterson, you look like you want to say something? No. Okay, all right. Okay.
I don't think you have proved exceptional status. You're supposed to prove usage from all areas of the county, and you haven't done that. So it's great that it's connecting to the countywide trail program, but this is not part of that. So with that reasoning, any trail that will connect to it is of countywide importance. We already fund the countywide trail system at $1.5 million a year. It's up to you to do the feasibility study and bring that data to us. So you could say you're getting it and that you have it, but we actually don't have that data in front of us.
When I was speaking with a representative from the Beltline in Atlanta, I asked her specific questions on how to identify where the users come from, and they're not able to actually do that. And in fact, even with their tracker system in place, she said it just gives them a good idea, because there's no way to determine if these are repeat users that are using it, but it's the best that I could find out there. And because it does fill the gap to take it out to 92, the city does feel it is at an exceptional status. Thank you.
Once again, the city feels that. You have no letters of support from any other municipality. You don't even have a letter of support or financial support from Stetson, this is going to be a big benefit to them.
Right.
So you have no support from any municipality other than Deland. Exceptional status is supposed to be countywide. I'm a no vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other comments. Kendra, walk me through this. We have to take the vote to make it exceptional, and then do we take a second vote, or do we just take one vote?
At this point in time, it's a roll call vote that requires a supermajority for exceptional status. And then you will review it again. You will score the project in the
Okay.
next iteration.
Okay, all right, thank you. So there's no other, we don't need to make a motion on this, we just take a roll call vote? Okay. Jill?
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
No.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson,
Yes.
David Romeo,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
Yes.
Jack Surratt.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a supermajority.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me grab my agenda here. So we will now move to
Kendra
the
will introduce them like she did last time for
Echo
you.
Spring Grant application review and scoring, and this project will come up after the
Yes, ma'am.
first one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the first project you're going to look at and review today is the Bill Keller Park Improvement Phase 1. It's from the city of Deland. They're requesting DeBerry. I'm sorry, had Deland in my mind. City of DeBerry. They're requesting $75,000 from Echo with their match of $77,000. It's to improve Bill Keller Park, installing new lighting at the basketball and tennis courts, and also a new dog park. So if you want to discuss, open discuss for the committee, and then applicants here for questions.
Okay. Are there questions from the members of the committee? I'll start. I'm very disappointed, and I actually called the mayor to let her know that the dog park does not cut it. I can't see spending any taxpayer dollars on a dog park that is less than the size of a housing lot in the community. So was very concerned about that. So.
Yeah, so that was one of the, I guess, the main questions that came up at our site visit. So we went back to the drawing board and we came up with a conceptual plan. We are able to expand that area. Okay, so if you remember what the site looks like, we have the upper area where the shuffleboard courts are, and that's the area we're sticking to in our original plan. We are able to use that lower area, it goes kind of down a berm a little bit and along the lake, from the tree line in front of the lake all the way back to the back of the park, the tree line there. So it'll more than double the space of the dog park if we went that route. The reason we didn't propose that to begin with is because our mindset originally for this project was just to make it more of a fun space for the dogs, have all the amenities, you know, the bells and the whistles. But I understand the concern with the size of that. So the trade-off in going this route is with our current budget, more work's going to go into creating that fence line and the site work, which will reduce the amount of amenities we're able to provide. But that is something that we can also expand in the future, so we can always add that stuff later. We have no problem doing it this way and making it bigger and better space rather than you know, have those different things within that space. It's just, you know, whatever your preferences are. This will be our first dog park, so the first time we'll be tackling something like this. So we're up for, you know, any feedback or suggestions that the board has.
Can I ask a question of Tim? I don't know whether you know what the average size of our dog parks are in Gemini Springs and in Beck Ranch. Do you have any idea? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but this is new material.
Right, yeah. Tim Bailey, Volusia County Parks Recreation Director. So we have a few. We have one at Gemini Springs, then we have one at Michael Karate Bicentennial Park,
And the
one at Beck Ranch, right. So the largest one we have, I would say, would be a toss-up between Michael Karate Bicentennial Park and Gemini Springs Park. I think it's about 3 acres around. Those two
Okay.
spaces are about 3 acres. And then Beck Ranch is smaller than that. Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The goal is bigger the better.
And amenities, I know the county doesn't put amenities like dog jumping stuff. It's mostly just an area for them to run.
Yeah, typically we'll put a dog watering
Dog
station,
watering.
right?
Do you
and
have that in yours? Dog watering station, okay.
Right, and then benches. If it's
yeah.
if it's covered, that's better, but if
For
it's
the-
just a bench
for the
for
mom and
folks to
dad.
sit at, right, yep.
Dad members, okay.
Yeah, we had that factored in with the picnic tables and those, trying to reuse those, the shade that we have there for the shuffleboard courts, you know, as part of it as well. A lot of the site work itself, we're doing in-house, so it's not that won't really affect our out-of-pocket budget. What will, though, is expanding that fence line, so that'll take away.
Will be fenced, I mean, you're talking.
Yeah, of course, yeah, that whole area that we presented. So if this does, you know, require any type of scope change, we'll bring it back when the time comes if we have to. But essentially, you know, we're just trying to get the best bang for our buck. These projects are always limited to our strict budgets, and we never have the ability to get everything we want out of these. So we always try to leave ourselves room to expand, you know, as time goes.
Jack?
Is there fencing between the large and small dog?
Yep. Yeah, we'll have those areas separated for sure, and two entrances as well on each side.
Separate entrances?
Separate entrances. Yep.
Okay. Reggie, Sarah Lee?
Yeah, I was thinking about the additional cost associated with this, which you alluded to. Can you remind me, I'm picturing being out there and we were looking at it. Does it slope down
It
as
does,
you go to
yeah.
that direction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. So the fence line in between the two will be right on the top of that slope. So the slope itself won't really play a factor. The fence will be at the top, and then the low area will be plenty of space for the dogs.
One more question. I saw in the application and the comments from the county that there had to be some adjustments to your budget and whatnot in order to have it all clarified on the application. Was that all done? Was that successfully completed?
Yes, we had inadvertently omitted the cost for the signage, so there is a letter from the city manager committing those funds from the general fund, and that was part of the application.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Actually,
Jay?
I have a question. I didn't until you handed out this piece here, and I am by no means a jock, but what kind of, this is a ball field here, this is a baseball field, I assume?
Yeah.
Is it for Little League?
It
or
is, yeah.
adults?
It's a 200-foot fence line for the smaller participants.
Because I know people that hit balls very badly, like myself, could probably hit a dog, maybe a small one.
Well, you're in the outfield, so you have to hit it good to get it that far. So that's a home run if you get it in the dog park. But we have a good buffer, and there's another kind of berm on that side too. And some landscaping that'll provide that extra buffer between the fields. So based on what we see out there with the kids playing, we don't feel it'll interfere with the dogs.
It's not a safety issue.
No.
Thank you.
Jeffrey?
I can appreciate City of DeBerry realizing that your taxpayers, your citizens, pay into this fund every year. And I could appreciate the fact that you are trying to make the most of it. So that's good. Every city should realize that. But yeah, the dog park needed a lot of work. I'm glad you're working on that. The LED lighting that you have, or that you're installing, is a great addition to the park. So those are my comments.
Thank you. And remember, these are two firsts for us. So first dog park, and then those courts are only public courts. So that'll be the first set of lights that we're able to put up, you know, on lit court space, which is great.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so we do a roll call vote with the number, the total score.
Yes, so you'll have to score and then total it up if you need a few minutes to do that, and then Jill will do a roll call to take the score if you haven't already totaled them up.
Ready?
Everybody ready? Okay. You ready?
Pat Northing,
80.
Jay Pendergast,
80.
Jeffrey Alt,
82.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
82.
Pat Patterson,
85.
David Romeo,
84.
Reggie Santilli,
85.
Stacy Simmons,
90.
Jack Surratt.
90.
Thank you.
Okay, that averages an 84, which puts them above the requirement.
Yes, correct.
And they are in the money.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And just a reminder, if you can make sure you sign your score sheets
Yeah.
at the end of the meeting, we'll collect all them together. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, next
So,
up.
yes, so the next application up is for the city of Deland, Alabama Greenway. They are requesting $1.5 million, and their match is $1,506,000, sorry. And it is to construct the 10-foot wide, 1.3 mile trail segment to extend the Alabama Greenway.
Good morning. I have no more cards to play.
Any question, did anybody's thought of since then? Any questions for Teresa? Or any comment? I don't know if I said this the first time, but I did drive that because I shared some of Jeff's concerns, but I did drive it and felt much more confident after I drove it that afternoon that it did have connectivity and there would be, so, okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Pat.
Madam Chair, Russ Brown, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I just wanted to put on the record, just so we're clear, won't be a normal restrictive covenant. Obviously, the county's not going to allow you to file a restrictive covenant for public access for 20 years against its right of way. The guidebook just calls for an agreement between the parties to put in place, which maybe that's wrapped into what we might do a use right of way use agreement as opposed to just a use permit. I just want to put that out and make sure the members are aware that it's not going to be your normal restrictive covenant. We'll wrap the requirements of the ECHO into an agreement, and that's allowed per the guidebook.
Okay. Legally, we're okay, though?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Jay Pendergast,
Put me on the spot.
Oh, you're not done?
you want me to come back to you?
No, I'm scoring a 90.
Jeffrey Alt,
52.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought,
Because if I'm going to do this in my head, I'm not going to be ready if I'm the third or fourth person.
we'll come back to you. Pat Patterson,
95.
David Romeo,
80.
Reggie Santilli,
93.
Stacy Simmons,
90.
Jack Surratt,
96.
Pat Northey,
92.
Sarah Lee Morrissey.
I got it handled. 96.
Okay. So that puts them, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we're up next on,
Another City of Deland project application, Jackson Lane Memorial Park improvements, requesting
Oh, yeah.
$150,000.
Yeah.
Their match is $150,000, and it is to improve the Jackson Lane Memorial Park playground to allow for equipment suitable for all ages and abilities.
questions for the applicant? If you could reiterate your playground equipment, whether it is handicapped accessible or not?
Yes, ma'am, it is handicap accessible. There's two pieces of equipment there that are specific in nature for handicap accessibility, and also the surface as well as the entrance features will accommodate any disabilities.
Okay, great. Okay, Jeff?
It's nice just to see a nice little passive park.
And you know, if I could add, I don't know that we were clear when we were out there on site, that is a pretty large park overall.
It is. Yeah.
And there is a nature trail back through the back, and it really is a beautiful piece of property. And this playground is just one small piece
And
of it.
it's nestled in a neighborhood.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, very nice.
Yeah.
5 acres, right? I'm sorry. Acres? I think it's even more than that, or, well, I think it, yeah, about 5.
5 to 6
5 to,
It's nice to know that the neighbors aren't opposed to it, too.
no, it's,
There are places where that is true,
oh.
opposed to neighborhood parks.
No, they
Imagine
call every day wanting to know when the playground's coming.
that. Okay, all right, other questions? Are we scored? Sarah? Okay, all right.
Jeffrey Alt,
91.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
96.
Pat Patterson,
92.
David Romeo,
88.
Reggie Santilli,
90.
Stacy Simmons,
98.
Jack Surratt,
99.
Pat Northey,
85.
Jay Pendergast.
Indeed.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
And we're moving on to,
Yes, City of Ormond, the Ormond Beach Performing Arts Center, they're requesting $600,000. Their match is $810,384, and it is to improve and update the Performing Arts Center.
okay, questions for the applicant? Good morning.
Good morning, Robert Carolyn, Leisure Service Director for the City of Ormond. And I do have some follow-up items that you guys have asked me to bring back to you today. And so first of all, I wanted to bring up the coquina veneer on the front of the building you guys were concerned about. We had a geologist come out and identify what type of rock that was, and it's called a bog rock. It was traditionally used in the early 80s for a veneer because it looked like coquina rock. We may have misled you by, saying that it was.
So it's not coquina?
It's not. No.
It's a man-made product?
It's not a man-made. It comes out of a quarry here locally in Florida.
Oh,
but,
okay.
It was used traditionally for purposes to make it look like a coquina. So I just wanted to let you know. The building, and the other thing, you may not be aware that the building was built in the early 80s. So it's maybe you thought it was a much older building than it is. So just thought I'd throw that out there. The other concerns were the parking lot. We did have a pothole out there. There was a work order put in for our streets department to repair those. Those will be repaired. They haven't been repaired yet, but they will be. The trees that were concerned of growing out of their space, there were a couple trees. I did see that, and we will keep a close eye on those trees. If they grow into the parking lot and they do look like they're eroding the parking lot, then we will certainly make provisions to either have them removed or replaced to be a smaller area. And then the flooding areas, the areas that held some water after rain. DOT had come in and they had just recently done some work in that intersection. And we had just recently mulched, obviously, because you guys were coming, but we had just recently replenished some of the mulch there, and it had built up around that corner, that far corner that I think is the corner you're referring to. We had our stormwater department come out, and they evaluated. There's been a couple of rains since then, and they've evaluated a couple of areas. We'll continue to do so. We've actually had a channel cut out, so it drains into the actual retention area there right off the street, off of US 1. So hopefully that will have a much better ability to drain, and we'll keep a close eye on that as we move on. And if it requires more work or some type of a reconstruction, then we'll certainly put that in our capital plan and move forward with that as well.
Okay. Stacy, I know you raised a lot of those concerns, so.
I really appreciate you addressing those today. The only last question that I have is, we didn't really discuss, the lobby was going to be open, kind of like an open gallery. Would that be open during the week, Monday through Friday? Can you give us a schedule of when it would be available for the public?
Yes, the PAC is opened, we were there at 7:30 in the mornings, but the lobby will be open pretty much every single day. Our ticket booth, obviously is open during the day as well, so it will be accessible to the public to do just a normal walkthrough.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This looks like a really great, oh, it's on. That's okay. This looks like a really good project. I did a little research and I see that you have a wide Facebook audience, but you don't have a standalone website.
No, not that I'm aware of. I don't think we do.
It's through the city.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking for marketing purposes, it might be good to have a standalone website.
We'll certainly take that in consideration. Yeah, it's a pretty cool place right now because we have our, I know this probably, you don't want to hear this, but anyway, I'll tell you because it's really neat. We have over 100 children there doing their musical theater summer camp there, so it's,
Oh, no, that's really good news.
Yeah, it's really neat because my office is it's a constant noise, but it's so cool to hear the kids.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a couple
Jack?
questions. One is the timing of this. I think you had a 1-year finish, and I can't remember exactly the start date. When do you start this project?
So our hope is to begin construction as early as October, maybe even sooner this year, if we were to receive this grant, because we have the contractor that we would like to use. One is already on a continuing contract with the city, and they're ready to go. They've already shown some true interest to move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, so you're talking about it being changed and ready by the following October?
Yes, sir, exactly. Maybe sooner if we're lucky.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking in terms of an extension. That's reasonably aggressive for as much of a project as you've got there. I hate to bring up the subject of clean hands relative to the Ormond Beach obligation to the county relative to the River Bend golf course. And the fact that there's a dispute as to tax funds going back and forth, and at least it should be noted that that's in that is an issue here versus simply not stating it at all in the application, because that is an issue, and hopefully it'll be resolved. But there is a dispute between the county and Ormond Beach relative to tax debt. And that would go within the clean hands position.
Could we ask the attorney to address that, please?
Yes, ma'am. So
that goes back to when I was on council.
Russ Brown, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Right, so the court case is currently on hold because there is a similar matter that was being taken up in another circuit, and it's on appeal. So the current trial judge is waiting on that decision as to how it impacts this case. So there should be some type of resolution, hopefully in the next 6 months, depending on how fast the court system moves. But it could still drag on, depending on what the outcome is as to whether somebody takes an appeal or something. But the city and the county are working it out in a judicial setting, so it will be taken care of. We have allowed other projects to move forward while this is pending. So. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I just wanted to make sure it was noted. I'm not saying we should hold anything up accordingly.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Jack. David, did you look like you wanted to say something?
Not to bring it up even more, but just it's being appealed. What was the verdict?
No, this case is not being appealed. What's being appealed is a similar matter.
I was just curious, what was that verdict?
Oh, now you're gonna.
Well, never mind.
Make me remember. I believe, if I remember correctly, the verdict was that the taxes were owed in that matter, but I don't know if the facts are similar enough that the trial judge in this case wants to wait on the appellate decision. But I don't know specifically how they align with the facts between the county and the city. But it will impact it, obviously. I mean, he knows it's enough similarity that he's stayed his decision pending the outcome of the appeal. I just don't know specifically, you know.
Russ,
to
as you
compare
get
the two.
information on that, would you let David know?
I can send it out to the, I'll get a, I'll put a summary together and send it out to the
Okay,
entire committee.
that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jeffrey, did I see you?
Yeah. Thank you again for answering the questions about the coquina. I want to point out the comments from the staff applauding you on your feasibility study. It was outstanding, and you know, they mentioned that they want to use this as an example for future applicants. You submitted what everybody should be submitting.
Thank you.
You did a great, the city did a great job with it. You had surveys, you had input from citizens, electronic, in person, everything was there. You know, the programming of your facility is very diverse. Your audience, you know, goes well outside the county, especially since you're up north so far. So I think you have a great project, and good luck with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to say the facility definitely needs an upgrade. It looks very dated. And thank you for addressing the coquina. And historic coquina, like the band shell and clock tower, are one thing. Those old rocks, they can go.
They're old rocks.
They're old rocks.
Okay. All right, I don't see any other comments or questions, so can we take the vote, please?
Pat Patterson,
93.
David Romeo,
88.
Reggie Santilli,
95.
Stacy Simmons,
A 90.
Jack Surratt,
93.
Pat Northey,
90.
Jay Pendergast,
85.
Jeffrey Alt,
94.
Sarah Lee Morrissey.
93.
Okay, congratulations. We look forward to seeing the renovation. Okay, so now we're on to the final one, Magnolia Park.
Yes, City of South
Renovation.
Daytona, yes, Magnolia Park renovation, they're requesting $243,750. Their match is $250,000, and it is to improve the decking along the walkway at the park and also update the playground equipment and the picnic tables to make them ADA accessible.
Good morning.
Good morning. Amy Zingotita, Parks and Recreation Director for the City of South Daytona.
I know there were some questions. Sarah Lee, did you want to have any comment?
I'll ask the question if you reconsidered the fencing and obscuring the natural surveillance aspect on the boundary.
That's something that will definitely be in consideration when we discuss the plans moving forward with the council and with the residents.
It is not currently an eco standard that we follow SEPTED guidelines. SEPTED, I'm pretty sure you know what they are, but for everyone else, SEPTED is the crime prevention through environmental design guidelines. Those are national guidelines that are recommended for many types of uses. And I realize that from a monetary standpoint, the amount dedicated in the budget for that issue, the fencing, is minor. It's not much of the project, and certainly the rest of the project, I've got no issues with it. It's a great project and meets the intention of ECHO, but I cannot tell you how much I think that that is such a bad idea to obscure visibility in that part of the park, which is very hidden. In this day and age, you know, the ability to provide open public space is extremely critical, and so our parks mean more to us than perhaps, we've considered in other ways, but we've got to also consider safety and security.
Absolutely, and that's definitely under consideration.
Sarah, for future, when we meet the next time to talk about, for the next iteration, do you want to talk about that, bring that information back to the board or the committee to consider?
I was going to save that for member comments at the end, but
all right.
yeah.
Okay, we'll save it for member comments then. Okay. Any? Jack?
I have one question. And I tell you, it's not a question as much as a comment. In this case, because you're making adjustments relative to the decking and the level of the decking onto the concrete, and then you've got grass sections and artificial turf sections. Although it's not a requirement to have engineering drawings, in this case, I think that would have been very helpful because it would have stated that all the issues were covered in the entire park, and we get an idea of that. So I know we don't require it within the obligations of the application, but at least from my knowledge, that would have been helpful just to see that it was comprehensive in its approach. So that's more of a comment than a question. It doesn't affect my scoring.
Okay.
I have a question. In your budget, it said that a sign, a park sign, not the Echo sign, you budgeted $15,000. What kind of sign is that?
That's like the entrance sign where it reads Magnolia Park when you're driving off of Magnolia Road, replacing that sign.
Oh, okay. Is it lit?
The city is undergoing a rebranding process, so I'm not exactly sure what our new park signage would be. We're going under a changing of our city seal and sign comprehensive plan, so I'm not entirely sure what it would look like. Some of our new sign that we did at City Hall does have the seal backlit, so that's a possibility moving forward, but I'm not entirely sure what the final product will be.
Thank you.
Okay. Other comments? Jeff, you have something you want to add?
Sure. I think it's a nice little ADA, park.
Yeah.
Great little passive park for the community in the area, and your grant is well put together.
Thank you.
Okay. We can take.
David Romeo,
86.
Reggie Santilli,
90.
Stacy Simmons,
98.
Jack Surratt,
94.
Pat Northey,
80.
Jay Pendergast,
90.
Jeffrey Alt,
95.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
83.
Pat Patterson.
80.
Okay. They're in the money, right? That's the way I'm looking at it. Okay. Okay. That concludes the ranking, and these will be forwarded. Congratulations to everybody. They'll be forwarded to County Council at what meeting?
We're hoping the August 5th meeting. We've got to make sure we get the agreements back. They have to execute them before they go to council. So that'll be the next process. I'll provide.
Do you recommend that the applicants be at that meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Have you all heard that? You need to be at the meetings. Okay.
I'll confirm the date in an email to everybody, so, and the information.
Do the applicants have any questions of the ECHO committee before we move on to the rest of our agenda?
So you'll have to make a motion to recommend them to council.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the rankings and forward them to the county council. Who wants to make that motion? Mr. Patterson, you want to make that motion?
Move the motion to move the rankings to the county council. What was the other part?
I don't know.
You and I,
I know, we're not,
brains aren't working.
we're working today.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. I know, it's like, I'm not quite with it today. Again, congratulations to everybody. Okay, we will now go on to old business. Needs assessment survey. Kendra?
Yes, so I just want to introduce this. The committee has already seen the resident quality of life survey. I just brought it back for one final review from everybody. The partner needs assessment survey has been newly done and revised, so that's the one you haven't seen previously. Just to let you know, the resident quality of life survey, we plan on putting that on our website, putting on social media, and also at libraries, the extension office, Veterans Services Office, Votran. We hope to have a flyer with the QR code for citizens and residents to take the survey that way. So.
And how are we getting the word out on this? That we get a survey out there. How's Kevin gonna get the word out?
For the resident one, we're going to do a release and social media and our website, yes.
Okay.
And then for the partner one, we will definitely reach out by email to the partners we've worked with previously, and any others that we feel nonprofits that would potentially apply to ECHO.
Okay. Questions? Sarah Lee?
Are we just doing questions on the resident one, or are we doing it on both?
We can take it on both.
Okay, I just, this is just a clerical. On your resident quality of life, there's just a numbering issue. I don't know if you noticed that, between 4 and 5, right? It goes to 2A. Yeah, minor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know if, as soon as this got blessed, if it's going out, and I just wanted to.
That good catch. Those are good catch.
I did have a few thoughts on partner needs, but maybe if there's other comments on resident.
Are there other comments on residents, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Let me go with Jeffrey first, then I'll go back to you, Jack.
Just question number 8 on the partner needs, I believe. I would like to see somehow in the resident survey as well, because they're the ones paying for this.
Say that again?
So the question number 8 on the partner needs assessment, I would like to see on the resident survey, because the residents are the ones that are paying for this.
Can you?
So question 8, should ECHO projects have taxpayer ownership in it? And it continues on.
Right.
I would like residents to be able to answer that question.
Okay.
Oh.
Since they're the ones
Okay.
paying for it.
Yeah. I wasn't following that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Just clarification for staff, you also prefer to have that on the partner?
Yeah.
On both of them?
On both.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I tell you, I don't understand question 8. I agree it should be in both, but I thought the question itself was written in a form that I didn't really understand. Could you explain to me exactly what that question's trying to get to?
I'll explain.
Okay,
it.
good.
It means that there has to be taxpayer ownership somewhere in the equation. So take Gateway Center for the Arts. It's the grant is presented by a nonprofit, but the city owns the property. So there's taxpayer ownership in that equation. Bike trails, parks, all of that have taxpayer ownership involved in the equation.
I got you. I understand. I guess my concern is, if I'm a nonprofit reading this, I'm not sure I'm going to have the ability to answer the question. You know, taxpayer ownership involved in the equation, meaning the city or county owns the land. I don't know if I'm a nonprofit.
I mean, we could answer the question, but I certainly have a problem with that.
I understand what we're trying to get to. I just think the question needs to be written in a form that someone's reading it and saying, "Oh, I know how to answer it."
Yeah.
I mean, really, I struggled a little bit with the term taxpayer ownership, right? Because it was not clear to me, and then it was limiting in its definition within the question, because it's saying taxpayer ownership, which means either the city or county. Well, there's more, knowing what we're talking about here, there's more taxpayer ownership than just city and county, right? Could be state, could be school district, could be another governmental agency, entity. So I was just wondering, is there another term that is a little clearer than taxpayer ownership? Because honestly, if I was somebody else and not involved with this at all, taxpayer ownership, I'd maybe think it was just me and my residence. I'm a taxpayer and I own property.
Okay. Good
I think,
point.
My suggestion would be to change it to public ownership instead of taxpayer. I think that's
And-
clarifies.
I think that's clearer, actually.
Okay. Is that okay
Well,
with everybody?
Is that gonna exclude not-for-profits?
Yeah, that's my question.
Does that do for
How does this deal with-
not-for-profit?
And that's a question I would like to see the people who are paying for this answer. Because in state grants, the majority of them have to have public ownership.
But we didn't put the referendum question out like that. Russ, do you have some thoughts on this? Because it changes the whole, potentially changes.
So
who's
as
a-
I understand, is it up on the? So as I understand, it's number 8, is that right?
Yeah,
On
number
the
8.
partner needs assessment.
Yeah.
So are we saying, when we say public ownership, do you mean even if a nonprofit's involved, some type of public ownership? Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Alt?
Yeah, that a city or a municipality or the school board or, you know,
We've
has
done lots of
a
not-for-profits.
project.
So I'm just trying to understand the question. So if a nonprofit came forward for a project, there would have to be some skin of the game from a local government. Is that what you're saying? In order to approve the nonprofit's application? Is that the genesis of the question?
Yeah, so that taxpayers, property tax owners who are paying for this have some sort of control over it, have some sort of ownership in it.
I mean, it would require us to, we'd have to rewrite the entire guidebook and the guidelines. I don't remember specifically if the referendum question got to the heart of that and
It did not.
would require another referendum. I don't think it does, like you said. I think
But
it's more
it-
governed by the guidebook.
It couldn't. I mean, public it's not all public property, right? I
Right.
mean, you've got situations, you've got museums, you've got all kinds of
Right.
things
Yeah.
which are not part of, ownership. I think it changes the dynamics of what we're
I'm going to
doing.
withdraw my support for
and,
adding to that.
I don't, that was part of my issue. I mean, there are independent projects and then there are public projects, and they're all different, but that's part of the beauty of ECHO is the ability to deal with not just public projects, not just cities, not just county. Maybe the question shouldn't be there at all. I like the fact that we're trying to draw in that the public should participate and their dollars are going against the project, but I don't think it has to be through county or city controlled properties. And so I'm not sure. Well,
So
I don't like the question unless the question is rewritten.
Let's do this. Jeffrey has made a recommendation, and I'm going to put it out to a motion for the board to consider. So,
Ms. Northey, may I just finish my thought process?
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. From a legal perspective, though, I would do a little bit more research just to make sure it didn't impact the referendum, and therefore there would need to be another one. But I don't think it would if this question was asked and it was ultimately decided. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm not sure it would have necessarily a legal impact on the program if that change was made. I'm conditioning that heavily with I would do more research if that's the way it went. But it would be a policy decision that would have significant changes as to how the program is administered now. So I just wanted to be clear. I see it more as a policy decision than having a legal implication at this point. But again, I need to go and do some research if this is the way it's going to go as to how it would impact the referendum. So I would condition my legal opinion on that further research if this is put on.
So we have we have two things here. We can either go ahead and put it on and then have a debate when that comes back, or we can not add it at this time. Sarah Lee.
I'm really glad we're discussing this question. So this survey goes to our partners. And if we think about who our partners are, right? There's 16 cities, something like that, and then the county, and a whole bunch of nonprofits.
Yeah.
Okay, so the response back on this question, I would expect it to be seriously no. Okay, and I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking in my short time on this board, you know, I've seen the why in front of us, and I'm trying to think what made us want to put this question out there. And I do see some issues where again, based on my limited experience with all the ECHO projects, you know, I see some instances where I would have liked public ownership, because I think perhaps the project would have been stronger, right? And I'm particularly thinking about all the historic stuff we've been dealing with. But what the ramifications of this question within this limited survey, which is a good point, Jeff, put it on, you know, the resident survey. Now you got a broader piece, but if the question comes back with heavily weighted, yes, we want public ownership, what have we just done to so many of our applicants?
Yeah, that's I'd say pulled from both questionnaires at this point.
And so I go back to, what is our concern here? And are there types of projects where perhaps we need to be considering partnerships, you know, with a public entity? Is that what helped us get to this question? I'm not sure I remember
So
that.
let me ask staff why this was put on the partnership.
So as you remember, we solicited questions from the committee, and this was one
This
provided
was
by Mr. Alt.
Okay, all right, so that's why it's on there. Okay.
You know, one thing about it, part of it is ownership, and part of it is access. And what we're trying to do, in my mind, within ECHO, is give the public access to these various things which we think help their quality of life. And that doesn't mean that they have to have ownership in the facility or the property itself. It means they have to have access to the area, to the thing, to the activity.
That's already a requirement.
And so I think it's the access question, which is part of the requirement within ECHO, versus the ownership of the property itself. That's my impression. And with that, I'd like to move that we strike this from both surveys, with this one, because I don't think it's an appropriate question to ask the public. Even if the answer was such, I think it would change the nature and the policies within ECHO itself.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Reggie Santilli. And did you want to say? Well, we've got a motion on the floor, and so this is comment time.
Yes, ma'am. So public access, I think, was probably an oversight. I didn't contribute any specific contributions to these two surveys, but I think there's lacking a question. If we take that out, maybe we need to put some kind of question to get feedback about public accessibility.
Well, that's already part of the ECHO program, that they have to be publicly accessible. That's one of the, but
we're
quite frankly,
out
that's one of the problems the Boys and Girls Club has, is because they're not publicly accessible. And because I know they've had conversations with you all, and they've been advised that they're not eligible because they don't have public accessibility. So that is a requirement, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and maybe the question would be, do you feel like you have accessibility? You know, that you're truly invited to use these things. I don't know. If that is a question, it would strictly be for the residents and not for the partners. But I'm not. I think because we're asking all these other questions, I think it's apparent that they have access to it. But either way, the question is written. You know, I don't think it fits.
There's other comments?
Yeah, I think it's extremely appropriate to ask the people who are paying for this if they feel they should have ownership in the projects.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take a roll call vote.
Pat Northey,
No.
Jay Pendergast.
Wait a minute, it's to remove it, correct? Let's get.
It was to strike number 8 from
Okay,
both
my
surveys.
vote is a yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
No.
Sarah Lee Morrissey,
Yes.
Pat Patterson,
Yes.
David Romeo, Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Stacy Simmons,
No.
Jack Surratt.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
That item will be stricken from both partner needs assessment and resident quality survey. Do we need to take any other action on it to approve it, or is it? No?
I have some other questions.
Oh,
on
okay.
other
I'm
parts
sorry,
of-
Jack. Go
Unless
ahead.
we're, okay. I find within the residents survey, the question number 12, which is which it was basically a question of the type of advertising that can reach you. And that's peculiar in that you typically don't ask consumers the kind of advertising they prefer, because they may not. I don't think consumers particularly think that way. You know, which would you prefer? I don't know where we get. I don't know if we get a lot of insight from the response relative to this question, but it's worth a try. But I think that it should be revised to speak in terms of what's the best way to notify you of new echo facilities and showcase existing ones in order to make it more thoroughly. I know what we're trying to get to. We're trying to say, hey, you know, how do we tell you what we have available to you, right? And so I think it just needs to be, the question needs to be a little broader as to notifying them versus what kind of advertising do you get. I think maybe we're just mincing words, but I think it could be better written.
So I would say that I take a lot of surveys because everybody sends surveys out, and I think it's okay the way it's written. Because
Okay.
I'm always being asked, how do you want to receive information?
Okay. Well, fair enough. I think that the answers to the question should be revised as well. For instance, we've talked before about an Echo standalone website versus Echo section of the Volusia County website. And I'd like those things broken up instead of it just being like the internet that says Echo section of the Volusia County website and an Echo website. Because, you know, just saying you'll get the information through the internet, I think there's a big distinction between which website we're really going to. And as you know, I'm a proponent of a separate website for Echo itself. So that's one suggestion I would make on the answers to that question.
Well, let me see if there's concurrency here on the dais to separate those to two different websites, or leave the question as it is.
I don't think we need a separate website. If you put keywords into your computer that says Echo Volusia, it's going to take you right to that page.
What if you said activities for Volusia County, and you're an outdoor enthusiast and you're into trails or something else. I think that the search engine element is part of it, but I think a website standalone, particularly if you promote around that specific website, can be far more valuable. I hear you, but I just don't think it's not as effective at getting awareness, and I think awareness is a big issue connected to this project in general. With Echo in total, we need more people to understand they've got these things they can do, these activities that we are investing in to help them, and by having the website, having this information being confined to the website of the county itself does not properly promote the thing. I think it just doesn't go far enough. But I hear you, and I think to some extent I may stand alone on that question. But there's no reason not to ask that question here in this survey, because we may find that people feel like I do and say, yeah, I don't really want it within the county website. I'd like to see a website stand alone that gives me all this information.
Other comments on that? Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't think we need a separate website either.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think, as Reggie said, you put stuff into the, search engine gets you to where you need to go. So, anybody want to change that language or just leave it? Okay, I'm not seeing a motion to change any language on that one. Okay. Other things, Jack?
No.
Okay. Other members have other suggestions? Okay. So did staff get all of that? Okay. Blanchette property.
Oh,
Well, that's why you've been-
I did have one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Alderman.
I didn't realize it. One thing basically it's within the resident survey, is we continue talking in terms of facilities. And facilities I'm just not sure if facilities is the right word. I'm not sure what the proper word would be, but because not all things are facilities.
Correct. So I've already made a note. I saw that earlier. We, in the guidebook, it's projects, so we will change all of that to Echo projects. Yes.
Good
So-
catch.
Way ahead of me.
Good
Thank
catch.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Morning.
Tim,
Yep,
this
Tim
is
Bailey,
why you've been
Parks.
sitting here all this time, huh?
Well, there's potentially some other questions might have been brought up on one of the applications, which is why Brad asked me to be here, right? So, okay. And I just got clarification on what we're talking about, Blanchette property. And I think Mr. Pendergast had a question or wanted an update on the Blanchette property. Is that correct?
Understanding,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go back in time and remember it as well as I can. I think Pat was in the gathering that I was in at the ACA,
I have
right?
the photos.
Is that right? Yeah, I might even been in one of those pictures, right? So there was a pledge that those two structures out there at Blanchette were going to be renovated and named, I think they called it the Reed Hughes Educational Center or Environmental
Learning Center.
Environmental Learning Center, right? So, and if I remember the facts right, during that, and there was a gathering, a lot of people at that meeting. The model was that the city of New Smyrna Beach were going to help in terms of operating the facility if it was refurbished or renovated. And then I think there was professors from other universities that were going to offer classes there intermittently, and that was the model. It was going to be refurbished. It was going to be then assisted in maintenance from the city of New Smyrna Beach, and then some professors were going to run from other universities. Were going to run some educational programs out of there, and called Reed Hughes Environmental Education Center. So at that time, then shortly after that time, the economic downturn happened, and the brakes hit everything. And in terms of parks budget, I think my budget got cut by 40% or more. And so I was eliminating recreation programs, offloading assets that were owned by the city that we're maintaining, brought before county council on how else we can reduce costs. So that was the time where that project got cut. There was no funding for it. And the other operational model kind of fell apart, kind of drifted away. So now fast forward, there was still a pledge. I think Pat and Clay Henderson were bringing this topic up about the pledge for the Reed Hughes Environmental Education Center. So me and Brad got together, said, listen, there should be some kind of Reed Hughes Environmental Education Center somewhere on the Doris Leaper Spruce Creek Preserve because of his involvement and how we got that property to begin with. So there's money in next year's budget to create that Reed Hughes Environmental Educational Center. And then we have staff internally that can run educational programs, existing staff. So typically when we go into a new project, we always have to wrestle with how much is it going to cost, to operate using general fund dollars, and those are sacred dollars to me. I compete against every year for general fund dollars. So how we can do that economically, so I'm not impacting the millage rate on the general fund for these services. So that's kind of how we landed on this educational center. We've got staff in-house that can continue to offer some educational programming services at that site. Plus there be some interpretive panels, some self-guided tours, and also crediting Reed Hughes and Memorial of. So that's kind of the plan currently right now.
I don't want to, that's a great plan, and I'm thrilled that we are going to finally give Reed his due, because he was amazing when it came to projects in Volusia County and the state. I think you're specifically asking about the house.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Yeah, I drive by that property every day, and there's a couple of historic structures that are demolition by neglect.
That's a phrase that we hear.
Right? Well, they are looking very bad. Nothing's been done to try to preserve them. And so it'd be nice to either preserve them or maybe remove them, because there's certainly a hazard for homeless people and other kinds of activities that can go on US 1. So I find it to be kind of a public nuisance at this point. And meanwhile, and part of the reason I was involved also is I got with the Spruce Creek Preserve and Volusia Forever, and ACA maybe transferring some property into Volusia Forever, which all sounds like a really good idea. And they're talking about trailheads and things like that. And you have this historic building sitting there, and it's really falling down. And what is the fate of the building? I keep hearing a open structure, a picnic pavilion or something of some sort, which is definitely not what I would consider an environmental center. And with the trailhead and everything, maybe there is an opportunity to preserve some of the county's past and incorporate it into what's going, into future plans. The other thing is that, the site, it's often been said that there's a lot of archaeological relics, remnants, history there from going back to Turnbull. And things like that should be preserved, not just let to, decay. So that was really my concern. I'm not sure that I made a clear argument here, but I don't think replacing historic buildings with a picnic pavilion is exactly an environmental center.
Well, I think it was going to be an outdoor learning center, the way it was designed. And I don't know what that design is.
Sorry if my description is not there.
Yeah. So so I'm looking at the decision tree. So the decision tree currently is looking at, do we want to look at putting dollars, potentially ECHO dollars with matching dollars, or if it's a direct county expenditure, using those dollars to refurbish or renovate those structures, option one. Before we even entered into that situation, we'd have to see if it's even feasible with the condition of the structures that they are right now. If it turns out that it is feasible, that we could, I'd have to get a dollar amount, right? And then I'd have to either find corresponding match dollars to then apply, and then come up with an operating procedure of what FTEs would be required, and ongoing maintenance to do that. That would be option one. Option two is if it turns out that the facility is too far gone, demolition by neglect, then we would be going into a demolition kind of situation. And if we did that, judging from some of the other structures, not historical structures, that I've had to take down in parks, it's not as much as you think. I'm going to say something around the figures of $15,000 to $20,000 around to take those structures out. As for the artifacts that are on the site, we have had numerous educational institutions. They've gone and dug out, and then they go through a grade process. Whatever they find, they document, and then they bury right back where they found it. And there's usually grids, and they map out these grids, and that whole area around that center has been completed, right? And there's also a indigo vat that's out there near the river that's been documented. So none of that would be disturbed in any of the activities that we're talking about. It'll all be protected and documented in historical fashion like we did in the past. So those are that's the options that we currently have. In either case, though, there is some money in the upcoming land management budget, provided council approves it, to do something that we just talked about a Reed Hughes Environmental Educational Center, but it is outdoor. And if we're looking something more substantial, then additional dollars would have to be dedicated towards it.
So let me just clarify. I've been working on a project because when Reed passed, Clay was working on it from the state level, renaming North Peninsula State Park after him, because that was one of his first projects that he did. And I recalled that we had said as a county that we were going to do the Blanchette houses as a environmental learning center in conjunction with New Smyrna Beach. And of course, you're absolutely on target with how that went away.
Right.
I brought the idea forward that we needed to do something to you and to Brad, that we needed to do something to right the wrong when we didn't move forward. I'm not asking. I like the concept that I've heard from Brad on doing an outdoor classroom. I've talked to Clay's okay with that. I've talked to a number of people, including, help me out here, the teacher.
Louise Chapman from the school board, right?
Yeah,
and
Louise.
we have a solid relationship
Yes,
with Louise. She
I
still
talked to
operates
Louise
out of
this
Brooklyn.
week,
Right, yeah.
and I would, for me, I would say move forward with the project that we're doing. The Blanchette property, if there is a way to demo it and still maintain the historic parts of it, and I don't know whether Mark Shuttleworth can come out there and maybe look at
I know
some
Mark.
Yeah.
We can, that's, if he's willing, I'd be willing to meet with him on site. We can take a look at it.
I'm just thinking he
Right.
does demolition of historic structures, and
Yep.
he might be able to reuse, which would be, for me, would be a wonderful idea if we could do something like that. So that's just, I'm not directing it, I'm just telling you that as a former, and I don't think Pat was on the council when we did that, but we needed to do something to honor Reed's legacy, because it's a big one. And I've, since the Blanchette property, I've heard it from many sources, not just in the county, but outside of the county that are familiar with it, and they've said it's demolition by neglect. Shame on us for doing that, but it is what it is, and I don't want to put more dollars into trying to rehab that building. I'd prefer to honor the contents of it in a way that you would like and that you just spoke of.
I can easily reach out to Mr. Shuttleworth. I know Mark, so I can absolutely do that.
Okay.
Well, if I could just say, it's a safety issue having
It is.
that building there, and I think we should move forward in one way or another, but to just let it just sit unused, because it is, taxpayer property.
Yep.
We should do something with it.
And so after our last meeting, Tim was on vacation, but I had my team take me out there. And so my initial judgment is the house is not salvageable.
Yeah, that's what
The
we
fruit
heard.
stand, I think probably we would have a better chance. The small little house next door,
The little
the
white
Grove
one?
stand. That's what that was when I was growing up. It was a fruit stand.
Yeah.
That may be an option, is keeping that and maybe having some pictures in the house and there or on the outside of it that you could see.
Kind of like what they have it down there down in New Smyrna. The Congressman Micah worked on that house that's not really open, but it's got, you can view it and, yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Is that good? Okay, all right. Any questions from anybody? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will move to advisory committee comments, and we'll start down at your end. Any comments?
Not at this time,
Not
thank
at
you.
this time. Thank you, Stacy. Mr. Patterson? No? Mr.?
No comment.
Okay, Mr. Alt? Ms. Santilli? Any comments? Sarah Lee?
I do. One, and it was previously asked, but I had planned to say something here. In the future, perhaps something we should think about for our projects that come forward, particularly the outdoor recreation, is the issue of CPTED principles, crime prevention through environmental design, whether or not the applicant is considering those principles and has evaluated them. Just a suggestion. I was really happy to see at the last meeting, and I apologize that I did have to leave right before it was over. So we are having a workshop with Historic Preservation Board. And this most recent discussion about Blanchette just speaks right to that issue. What time? I want to make sure. What time are we doing that? It's on October 13th.
Yes, so we already have a meeting scheduled for October 13th, and it's 1 p.m. here in the chambers, but we're going to try to move that to the training room so we can have more of a setup. So
that would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to have a discussion with the historic board.
Okay, so it's 1:00 p.m.
Yes, yes.
And I know you're reaching out to whatever stakeholders, that's the word we're going to use, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know you know what my big issue is, right? I've been pretty clear with this board how I feel about exclusion of educational providers. In particular, on this issue of historic, I would like to see an invitation and/or conversation with Bethune-Cookman and the school district, because I know they both have some historical facilities. Thank you.
Everybody's okay with that? Okay, all right. Okay, Jack?
Yeah, I have a question, and it was really Mr. Bailey that kind of stimulated this question, and it goes to a place that's near me. The Plantation Oaks, the Ormond Loop property that we acquired as a county. I was wondering where we stand on that trail and you know, the improvements that were going to be put on that trail, because it's well over a year old.
So I can tell you that they've established a parking area with some split rail fence. There were 7 gopher tortoises there, so our team had to move them. They kept them on site. So we've done that. The trail has actually been cut on that portion of the property. It is not marked yet, but we were waiting to get the additional acreage that was recently donated to the county just north of the Loop property, with the plan of connecting Plantation Oaks all the way up to Ormond Tomb and doing a crosswalk across Old Dixie Highway. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right. Old Dixie Highway. We've met with the state and Bulow, and will allow people to access their trail system too. There's one caveat there is a creek that we will have to cross to get to James Ormond Tomb Park. So that will be an engineered, something that we put out to bid. So we're moving forward with the additional 13 acres. We'll continue the trail that we've pre-cut already, and try to get us all the way up to Tomb. So we are moving forward on it.
Thanks a lot. That gives me assurance. I just didn't know there was that much activity with it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
David, you have
I'm good.
anything? You say you do or not?
No, I do know.
Okay. Okay.
I know this topic had been brought up before, the life expectancy of a playground structure. And I wondered if we could get a little clarification, either somebody with internal from the county, or maybe there's someone that could give us shed some light on making that decision. How long does that really last?
So there's actually a program for people to become certified playground inspectors, and we have someone on staff. So, and that's in Tim's shop. So I will ask him to, I believe it's Chris Lessig who is our certified individual. And if it's the committee's pleasure, we could ask him to come and give an overview.
That would be good. Yeah, and to talk about handicap as well, and put all that into it.
Sure.
Yeah, does that work? Okay. Okay. Okay, are there any other staff comments?
So I just want to remind everybody that on July 14th is the next committee meeting. It's here in the chambers at 1. It is also the same day as the environmental workshop. So we will hold a brief committee meeting to address any old or new business that may come up. And then we'll move into the environmental workshop. At this time, we only have 2 organizations registered for the workshop. So I'm going to ask for your help to get the word out still. We are going to make some phone calls to the organizations we've already sent the emails to, but we only have 2 at this time. So we will resubmit some of the data, put another release out on social media again, and try to get the word out again.
And you all got a copy of that list, correct? And we got that
Yes,
out? Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay. What time on July 14th?
1 o'clock.
Okay. Does everybody have that in their calendar? Yeah, I've got it. Okay.
I'm just curious if during that meeting we'll get an update on the projects, specifically the Creative Arts Cafe.
So at that time, they are in the process of submitting a scope change. So yes, that will be on one of the items on the agenda for the normal ECHO meeting. Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, I'm going to be on vacation July 14th. Can I do this virtually, attend the meeting?
Yes, so we will have to, Russ.
You can participate if it's streamed online, Mr. Patterson, but you can't because it's not, it's not because of your health or anything like that you're missing the meeting. You couldn't vote.
As long as I get credit for being there, that's all I care about. I'll be there.
Well, maybe you'll get sick.
Well, so if you're not able to participate as a voting member, I'm not sure it's an excused absence if you otherwise Zoom in.
So that's just not being here, right?
Yes, sir.
I've already planned my vacation.
Go on vacation. I'm
I
sure
guess
that it gets recorded,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay. Any other business? If
So
not,
I'd just
don't
like to
forget
ask also to,
turn your sheets in.
yes, yeah, we'll collect the sheets at the end. But if you have any historic, I know I will definitely reach out to the school board in Bethune-Cookman. Stacy has provided some historic organization stakeholders to reach to, but if you have anyone, if you could please send them to me so we can make sure we get that information out to them.
Okay.
Kendra?
Yes.
What about Barberville?
The Pioneer?
Yeah, are they going to be there, do you know?
Yes, yeah, so we're gonna send to all previous applicants for historic. Yeah, they'll be on the list.
Okay.
Yes, we'll reach out to them.
Okay, we'll be adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.